Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, you've seen the more modern harvesters we've got here on the farm, and I just thought that I would quickly show you this old Sunshine Type C harvester. This one is from about 1909, and it was originally horse-drawn, so it did originally have a wheel up the front here, and a lever on here that came back to the driver's seat so that you could steer it a little bit. It's later on had a hitch put on it for a tractor, so this one was used behind a tractor at some point. These are one of the very early stripper harvesters. They did the whole job of taking the grain off and separating it out, threshing it, winnowing it, and then sending the grain up into the tank. These are a little bit different to the modern harvester fronts in that they're called a stripper. So the grain heads go in through these fingers here, sticking up. There's no knife in here to cut them off. There is a beater wheel instead. I'll just open this front up a little bit so we can see in here. So there's this beater reel in here that sort of beats the grain head off the stalk, and there's a sort of checkered plate back there that it beats it against, and this breaks it up a little bit and breaks it off, but it leaves all of the stalk there. So the only way you can tell where they have harvested and not harvested is the fact that the heads are missing on the grain. Once it's beaten off the front there's elevators in this panel here that take it up to the peg drum. There should be a door on here that's missing. Now this back end of the harvester really hasn't changed a lot from when this design came out in, I think, about 1901 or 2 through to relatively modern harvesters. This is sort of the basic layout that they used right up until they got they developed the rotary harvesters like the New Holland and the case harvesters. But instead of having a thresher, it's got what's called a peg drum. So if we come up the top here and we open this up, this is the peg drum in here, and it turns, and basically all the heads and stuff have to go through here. So this beats it to a pulp basically. These were fairly hard on your grain and you ended up with a fair bit of split grain. There's also very little adjustment on it, so you can't change the distance apart that the fingers are. You can't change the speed on it like you can on a modern machine. It just runs and you go with it. Once it's gone through the peg drum here, it comes out the back. This is the bottom of the peg drum. It comes out the back and down onto these screens here. These are pretty much the same as the screens that I still have in the New Holland TR88. The only difference is on just about every other harvester except the Sunshines, the screens shake backwards and forwards that way. On these Sunshines, they actually shake sideways. The Sunshines are the only machines that I know of that do it. There probably were others as well. So it falls through there. We have a fan on the back here. It's a pretty crude fan with some wooden paddles. Now the only variation on that was a flap down on the bottom here that you could tilt to change how much air went through. So these were a pretty crude design really. Once it had the chaff blown out and it fell down the bottom here, there's 2 elevators in here that take it up to our grain tank. Now this one has a second screen in here as well, so the cracked grain comes out here, and the good grain goes down into the main tank here, and then it would have had a bagging chute on here where you could bag it off. Now this machine is all ground drive, so when this wheel here turns, there is a cog on the inside here that meshes with this cog over here. It's in the out of gear position at the moment, so you can see they don't line up. When you put it in gear, this cog shifts across into here, and that's what drives everything on this machine. Now these set a world record in 1902 for the largest number of bags of grain harvested in a day. They managed to harvest 202 bags. Now that's about 17 tons. The modern machines will do that in, the big machines anyway, will do that in about 20 minutes. So it's a huge difference, but 202 bags would have been revolutionary at the time of this machine was made, and it would have been a long, hard day for whoever was operating the machine. So to drive this machine, we've got a driver's seat here. We've got this crank handle here, which has a worm drive on it down the bottom here, which runs on this rack here. This is what we use to raise and lower the comb. So it's quite hard work to raise and lower the comb. This lever here goes down to the thing on the front of the comb. That's called the choke cutter. So when your comb blocks up, because there's nothing actually cutting the stalks, when it blocks up and you start pulling the stalks out, you operate this to try and feed all of the blockage into the comb to make it go up the elevators. This lever here is changes the angle of your screens, just to give you some adjustment on how much you're losing out the back. There's a cute little door in here which allows you to just see the front of the screens, and this allows you to see how much is blowing off the screen and whether you need to adjust the angle. And this thing here is to adjust that flap at the back that I showed you, to change the amount of air going across it. So it's a very, very basic machine, but one that really was part of the beginning of the revolution, from machines that just gathered the heads and the chaff and everything up together, and you had to winnow it separately. These were some of the very early machines that did went through the whole process, and stripped the grain, winnowed it, and took it up into the tank for you, and you ended up with the finished product. This one is one that I hope to restore at some point, but it's a little way down the list of things I need to do. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!